You're watching Experience Comic Culture and Sales, streaming live daily to Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter.
What's up, the internet? It's producer Kyle. How's it going? You're probably thinking what I'm thinking. That's not Miss Jen. This is Talking Shop with Miss Jen, and you're not. Well, that's true. Miss Jen had some stuff come up family-wise, so I am filling in. Our guest is disappointed too. So we will be here. We will be right back with Brendan Deneen from Scout Comics and like a whole bunch of other stuff. By the way, if you look, I went on the schedule and I'm looking at what's coming out. Brendan has a book that comes out every week for like the next 6 weeks. It's kind of crazy, and I want to find out how he does it. So we're going to find out in just a second. This is Talking Shop. What's up, everybody? Welcome into Talking Shop. I am producer Kyle, and without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest, Brendan Deneen from Scout Comics and Bloodstone and or Blackstone. I'm sorry, a whole bunch of other stuff.
I like Bloodstone. That's awesome.
Right. I feel like you should just write something called that, and then we can be. I can be.
And then I'll get sued by Marvel. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, that's true. It is.
Yeah.
Well, spell it with.
Yeah, BLUD, and then
Well,
DC.
that's DC.
Yeah, you just get sued no matter what these days.
Put an accent somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Over the U.
Yeah. There you go. So let's start with with Scout Comics, because there's a whole lot of Scout Comics coming out right now, and you have a book out this week. Wow, perfect time for your brain to go completely blank. Called it's the Bones of the Gods, right?
Yep.
And then you have a scoop book out next week.
Yes.
Okay, so the Bloods of the Gods, decidedly not for children.
Correct.
Scoop books are decidedly for children.
In theory, absolutely.
Okay. How do you write a not for kids book and a for kids book at the same time?
Well, first off, thank you so much for being here. I know that Jen had something personal come up, so I appreciate you doing this. I'm sure anyone watching appreciates it, so thank you. I know Jen appreciates it, and it's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too.
That preamble, get that preamble out of the way. Look, I've been writing professionally since 2006, and people said pick a genre. You can only do one genre, and I work in the publishing industry by day at Blackstone, aka Bloodstone, there's sort of a common refrain that people tell authors: you have to pick one lane and write in it, and it helps, I think, when you're known for one thing. But I always wanted to write two different types of things. I wanted to write really dark, mess up horror and dark stuff, and then I also want to write stuff that can be enjoyed by kids. I think because fundamentally I'm 13 or 12 years old in my heart, and as a 12 or 13-year-old, I loved really scary stuff, but I also loved kids stuff as well. So I've been able somehow, and I think it's gotten more acceptable to thread the needle between writing dark horror and fantasy and also writing kids stuff. So I've been really lucky to do both. And these two books were not supposed to come out back to back like this, but it's kind of, in a way that you pinpointed it, it's kind of an encapsulation of my writing career. So that's cool that it's actually happening.
Yeah, and I'm sure when I talk to James later in the week, we'll talk about, well, one was supposed to be out X, back when, and one was supposed to be out now, in paper shortage, and how Scout has really, really done a great job of juggling the schedule to when they could get things printed and when a hurricane can happen, and then when they can get things printed again, and keep their schedule at least on time, right? If they've delayed something, they've delayed it, but then it's come out appropriately.
Right. Yeah. And so I don't know if you've mentioned, but I'm the founder and CEO of Scout. And James is the man. And I'm up here in New Jersey, so I only watched the hurricane on the news like everybody else, but it was devastating to Fort Myers, and specifically to our printer. Our headquarters was miraculously spared for the most part, but our printer was hit really badly. So first off, they're amazing, and I appreciate them. And yeah, a lot of stuff got delayed, and even it happened right before Comic-Con, so a lot of books that we were supposed to have with us in New York, we didn't have, including one of my books, which is obviously totally fine. But yeah, so through circumstances that are beyond our control, these books are coming out back to back. And Bones of the Gods, the first page is actually the only page that's probably a little hardcore. The rest of it's PG for the first page is PG-13, and then the next 21 pages I'd say are PG. The artist drew the first page a little bloodier than I perhaps anticipated, but I also kind of loved it. So yeah.
So you're a big dog at Scout. You're running Blackstone.
I'm not running Blackstone. So Blackstone is a large publishing company that started as an audiobook company, and the audiobook industry had a huge boom in the early 2010s. And so Blackstone then started publishing print, digital, and audio. And I used to be an editor and a film executive at Macmillan, the 5th largest publishing company in the world. And so when I came on to Blackstone, I took the same job basically. So I'm half editor, and I also created their movie division. So I sell books to Hollywood, both for Blackstone and Scout. So I do not run Blackstone's a huge company. I do not run it by any means, but I do run their movie division, which I'm very proud to do.
Well, for our purposes, we're going to stick with that. You run it line.
I do run Bloodstone Publishing, which I'm now
which we just invented.
Right,
which we just invented 15 minutes ago, right?
Right. You and I are the co-CEOs of Bloodstone Publishing.
As long as you have all the creative ideas, I will be the guy in the background going, "Yay!"
Well, we always, everybody needs a guy in the chair, right? You're the guy in the chair.
Well, I've always equated myself in the comic book industry to that guy in oh, now I'm gonna blank on the ska band that just dances and doesn't do anything else.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
The
only ska band I can think of is Fishbone, but that's because I'm 50.
I love Fishbone. No, it's the impression that I get was their big song, Mighty Mighty Bosstones.
Oh yeah,
I'm the guy in Mighty Mighty Bosstones that just dances. I don't play an instrument or sing.
You need that guy. That guy's huge.
Speaking of, you have a Sonic Youth poster behind you.
That's true.
Sonic Youth Pavement, and REM was on that tour, right, in the U.S.
So this, you know what? Whenever somebody mentions this, I have to talk about it. So this is from December 10th, 1992, Glasgow, Scotland. I saw this show when I was a junior in college. I went to Scotland for my junior year, and the day after the show, they put these posters up on the wall with like glue, but they're like paper thin posters. And it was raining in Glasgow because it's Glasgow. And so I peeled it off the wall and brought it back to my dorm and put it on newspaper, which I can't believe I thought to do. And it just solidified like paper mache, brought it home, and then had it framed. And all these years later.
I love it.
Yeah.
Pavement's one of my favorite bands. I'm just
love it. Yeah, I saw them. It's so good.
So let's talk
about comics.
Well, no, I was gonna say let's talk about punk, but
yeah, let's do it. No.
We should probably talk about comics.
We can talk about whatever.
Let's. Okay, fine. I'm gonna ask the question that I normally say for the end. When you're writing, what do you listen
to? It's different for every project. So like when I wrote my second novel that got published, it was Ghosts by 9 Inch Nails. It's like it's a album, a concept album, I guess. There's no lyrics. It's just weird, creepy music, and it was a horror novel. I do listen to some embarrassing stuff that I'm not proud enough to say out loud. That usually music without lyrics is very helpful when I write, but some of it's really deeply embarrassing.
I don't find any music that anyone listens to embarrassing. I used to, and then Taylor Swift put out that new song she's got, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah, I'm a fan.
It's a bop.
I'll just say, so it's like we're talking like Enya and Yanni territory. Like it's just
that's fine.
Yeah.
I had Kenny G on earlier.
No, that I'd probably draw the line.
I had it on earlier only because I'm looking for a very specific Christmas song that he recorded
Right on.
for a video I'm doing for a client, and they have the ability to license Kenny G.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, people love him.
Yep.
People love him.
Richard Ship, yes, this is live, and yes, Lightning Crashes was a good song. Anyway, moving back into comics.
True.
So give us the elevator pitch on Bones of the Gods.
Absolutely. So the Bones of the Gods takes place in a fantasy world. So I grew up reading, most people my age read Lord of the Rings. I'm embarrassed to say that I actually was more of a, or not embarrassed, but I was more of a Raymond E. Feist magician guy. That's the series that got me hooked on fantasy. So I've always wanted to write fantasy, and this was the one that I eventually wrote. So it's The Bones of the Gods is a story in a fantasy world where there are two religions, and they've been fighting each other for thousands of years. And neither of these religions has any proof that either of their god actually exists. But that doesn't stop them from murdering each other for generations and generations because they believe their god is the one true god. And this is like basically the first couple pages of the book. There's this battle going on, the latest battle in centuries-long battles, and the gods finally appear in the sky above this battle, and are like, you know what? Let's just settle this once and for all. And so these two gods end up battling each other. This is the first 3 pages of the comic. They end up battling each other, and they end up destroying each other and wiping out most of the planet in their battle and killing each other, and their bones fall to the ground. And so 20 years later, which is where the story picks up on page 4, 20 years later, society is slowly rebuilding itself. And the rumor is if you can find a bone of a god, it's full of immense power. But most people think these bones are myths because it's very rare to find one, if you find one at all. So most people believe that they don't actually exist. So our protagonist is a young woman named Esper. She's 16 years old. Her father was a warrior. He's on the first 3 pages. And she ends up, they're farmers, and she ends up finding a bone beneath the ground while she's tilling the soil. And that's sort of the opening, and then bad things start to happen because she has found one of the bones of the gods.
So when God wants to punish us, they give us everything we want.
Yeah, this was so I like to say I'm a recovering Catholic. I grew up very, very Catholic, and I'm not a practicing Catholic, and I'm not a huge fan of religion, although I think if people find comfort in spirituality, that's awesome. I actually find comfort in spirituality, but religion itself, I find, can have problems. So my thing growing up was always like, well, if this religion over here in this part of the world believes that their God is the only God, and we believe our God is the only God, it's like, who's right? And so I like the idea that, what if they just both show up, and what happens then? And it was just a fun critique on religion in a way, but also taking it into an adventure story, and where there's a young woman who goes on the run, and everybody wants what she has. And I thought there was a way to very gently critique something that I saw in society, which is overzealousness about religion. And also put that in a context of a story that's a lot of fun.
So when this book right now, I see solicitation for 4. Is it just a 4-issue mini? Is there more after that, or is there a?
The first arc is 6 issues. So it's a 6-issue first arc. Look, so because it takes place over literally like thousands of years, although the story is very contained, there's a lot. Each issue, I haven't actually told anybody this. Each issue opens with a flashback, and some of the flashbacks go back 20 years. Some go back further, I should say. Some go back a couple months. So there's a lot of prequel material. So I do have ideas for prequels. The end of issue 6, while it is a complete story, it's kind of like Star Wars, where I have ideas for where it can go from there. There are bigger villains hinted at. So this could be a Walking Dead where it just goes on and on. But unfortunately, as you may know, ongoing series these days are very hard to pull off. So I would love to write this forever, honestly. But
well, I mean, if you write it 6 issues at a time, then we get,
right.
I like the idea. And this is something that James and I have talked about on our I Must Ask You a Question show.
Yeah.
I love the idea of writing not for the trade, but for the trade.
I understand.
So
I mean, I love sequential storytelling. I love monthly books. I love getting to the end of an issue and being excited to wait a month. Jeff Johns and Brian K. Vaughan, Kirkman, they were masters. Maybe they still are, but there's masters at like that last page where you turn, you're like, oh my god. And great TV shows do this as well, which is why I don't like binging shows either. I like the wait. I like waiting a month for the next issue of a comic. So, and there's something special I think about getting up at, to start collecting with number one. Like Walking Dead, I bought every month for the entire run of the series. And that was like a very special thing for 193, I think, issues. Like that's pretty rare to stick around with a comic that long. And I think it's harder and harder to find that ongoing month after month for years experience.
no, for sure. And like what I always say is I like the idea of doing a 6-issue or an 8-issue miniseries.
Yeah.
Which is you can buy a trade and be totally satisfied, or you can buy it as each issue comes out and be totally satisfied, but not to build a series to be one or the other.
Yeah.
To build it to be both.
It's like, I mean, we talked about it at Scout. It's like seasons of a TV show. This is this first 6 issues is the first season of the series of the show. And then the next arc, if it, if I'm lucky enough for it to come out, if the sales warrant it, would be the second season. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think there's a way to do it where you're not writing for the trade, because we've all read that where the last panel of the last page just feels like another panel in the issue. And I think people accuse Bendis of doing that, or he used to. And I just don't like that reading experience for monthly books.
Yeah, the easiest way I would explain it is have people watch Wednesday on Netflix right now, right?
Right.
At the end of every episode, you're like, I cannot believe that just happened. What? Yeah. I need to watch the next episode.
Right.
And if you're like me and you're watching 2 episodes a week, trying to make it last as long as physically possible, like it's a great way to kind of keep you hooked and keep you into it.
Yeah, no, I love it. I just, again, I mean, this goes back to, when Charles Dickens was writing, and he was writing, part of the book each week or whatever it was. And I think there's something very special about the wait, like not giving in and giving someone everything right away. It's something special about having to wait for the rest of the story. I think it's unique to comics and TV at this point.
So Bones of the Gods is in stores this week.
I know.
In your local comic shop.
Yep. And at scoutcomics.com.
Yeah, and at scoutscomics.com. And if you're with a Scout Direct store, they may have already had it. So you may be able to walk into your store right now and be like, hey. Right. I know that that's a little different with your Scout Direct stores. So just check with your local comic shop. And if they don't have it already, they should have it on Wednesday. And they can probably put one aside for you.
Yeah, and if they don't have it on Wednesday, they can always reach out to us and we can get them copies.
Absolutely. It's definitely still available. Now, next week, Mortimer the Lazy Bird.
Yes.
Which I have a 2-year-old nephew, and I'm thinking this is perfect for him. Tell me about Mortimer the Lazy Bird.
Yes. So it may be a little advanced for a 2-year-old. For that, you may want to get Night Night Groot, which is my book for Marvel.
I bought him for Christmas. I bought him volume 1 of Sandman. He can't read it, but I can.
You bought it for him.
Yeah.
So Mortimer the Lazy Bird has got a crazy history. I'll be quick. But I actually wrote it as a novel in 1995 when I was a senior in college. And I took a semester off. It's a long story, but I was working at an ambulance company in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and I wrote it during my lunch break every day as a novel. And that was my 3rd novel I wrote, and didn't get anywhere with it. And I sort of shelved it and moved to New York City a couple of years later. And then in 2001, I saw an ad in Backstage magazine that this theater company was looking for kids plays. So I sent them Mortimer the novel, and they were like, we love this, and we would like you to adapt it into a stage play. So I rewrote it as a stage play in April 2001. It ran off Broadway, and shockingly got an amazing New York Times review. And I thought, this is it, I'm going to be this famous playwright. And then that never happened. And so I just sat on this thing for years and years and years. And then recently I decided to do it as a comic. So Mortimer the Lazy Bird started in 1995, and now 27 years later, it's coming out as a comic book. It's pretty amazing. It's the story of a bird, and he's young. His parents really want him to fly. They push him off the branch. His wings are a little small. He can't fly. Hits the ground. He's terrified, and he overhears them that night saying they think he's lazy, and he's gonna have to keep jumping off the branch until he can fly. And it's not that he's lazy; his wings are literally a little too small. And so he's like, I'm not doing that. So he runs away from Nest and ends up in the city, which he's never seen before, and becomes best friends with this worm, Lucius, who's sort of the comic relief. And they want to hang out. And so Lucius ends up giving Mortimer the bird a human sock to put on. And now he looks like a worm, sort of. And so they go underground to Wormland, and they're all shocked by this ginormous worm. And they're given new hope in their battle against the birds because of this gigantic worm. So it's silly, it's fun. There is a lesson there about sort of believing in yourself, and also about anyone can be friends. And there's a bit of an anti-meat eating message in there because Mortimer doesn't eat worms. I am a vegetarian, but it's not preachy by any stretch of the imagination. So it's a really cute, fun, lovely tale. I'm really proud of it.
So for people out there who might know the nomenclature, Mortimer is a non-stop book, which is the first issue comes out, and then very quickly hereafter we get the entirety of the story in trade paperback form.
Right. Yeah. So it's basically the first issue is to get people interested. It's also a collector's item. So it's sort of like, here's a little taste, here's the pilot, and then basically the binge, the full series comes out as a trade paperback. So that'll be out early next year, in bookstores, comic book stores, and bookstores. We do have a distribution deal with Simon and Schuster to get our books into the Barnes and Nobles and Amazons of the world, and of course independent bookstores, most importantly. So yeah, so this first issue will be out, and then there'll be a bit of a wait, unfortunately. But I'm incredibly proud of both of these books, and they could not be more different, obviously.
So if you had to pick one, and here's what I mean, if you had to pick one and take it to your job as a guy who sells content to Hollywood,
Yeah.
which one do you think would be the easier pitch to turn into a film or TV show?
Yeah, that's probably pretty easy. So I've been selling content to Hollywood for over 20 years. I sell a lot of content to Hollywood, so I don't even have to think about this. Fantasy is very hot right now. However, it's fantasy that has a fan base. They don't want fantasy that does not have an existing fan base because it's very expensive to make, and so they want to make sure that there's a sort of built-in fan base. So Mortimer is the clear winner here. It's still not easy because there's only a certain number of animation studios, but this is written as a film, not intentionally, but this is a film. This is a Pixar type movie. There's 3 acts. It's the kind of thing that could be on Netflix or Pixar and Disney. It's kids can enjoy it, but there's also a lot of sly jokes that adults will get as well.
So if you had to fantasy cast Mortimer,
Oh, geez.
whose voices do you hear when you read it?
That's a great question. I never even thought. No one's ever asked me that, and I've never even thought about it. So Mortimer, I don't even know. Mortimer is a very soft-spoken, gentle bird, and so it would have to be. I don't even know who that is.
Like Ron Funches?
I don't even know who that is.
He
Oh my
plays King
God.
Shark on the Harley Quinn animated.
Okay, yeah, somebody who can just be like gentle, and then Lucius is the breakout star. So it's like a Kevin Hart, or he's done a million animated things, but it's a comedian. He's hilarious. There's a great voiceover actor who played him in the stage show, and the New York Times review compared him to Woody Allen, which is now no longer as great as it was 20 years ago. But at the time, it seemed very cool before Woody Allen was sort of canceled. And that guy's name is Booth Daniels, and he's not like famous, but he is an award-winning voiceover guy. So like, yeah, Booth could do it. But yeah, a comedian, a Kevin Hart type of guy would be really funny in that role.
Very cool. So Obviously, go to your local comic shop this week and pick up Bones of the Gods, but then head in next week and get you some Mortimer. And really anywhere you can get books, or scoutcomics.com. Brendan, where can people follow you? Where can they support your work? Where can they find out what's up?
Yeah, I guess the social media landscape is such a mess right now. I mean, my website is brendandeneen.com, which is impossible to spell. I can't believe you pronounced my name correctly. Thank you. It's pretty rare. Actually, on the solicitation on the Scout website, where I'm the CEO, they spell my name incorrectly, which is amazing.
Did they make you Brandon, or did they misspell Deneen?
So they wrote Brandon, but usually what people, even when people get Brendan right, they usually say Deenan. Almost always. So I'm on Twitter for now. I know it's sort of insane over there, but that's just at Brendan Deneen. I've joined Hive at Brendan Deneen. I joined Post at Brendan Deneen. I'm on Instagram at Brendan Deneen. Facebook, my author page is there. I'm not sure. I think that's just at Brendan Deneen. So I'm pretty easy to find if you just search. I do a lot of tweeting, but again, I don't know how long. That's just kind of a mess over there. But,
I got a Hive. I need to get a Post. That's one I haven't.
Well, the Post I just got approved today. It's like you have to wait. So I don't know. And they're all kind of terrible. And
right.
I know that people hate Facebook, but I find Facebook because I'm so wordy. Facebook is good for me because my posts can be as long as I want them to be. But I know that Facebook is evil, and they're all evil.
That's what I like about Hive is that I could be as long-winded as I want to be, but also it has the benefit of like some of the stuff that makes Twitter good.
Yeah, and a lot of comic book and traditional publishing people seem to be on Hive.
Yeah, that's been the other great thing is like I go on there and I just click scroll, and it's just all people who draw or write for a living.
I haven't seen a single political post at all.
Right, no one is talking about anything. Right,
great.
Right.
Great.
I'm the guy on there going, can we talk about music?
Music's good.
Right. But everybody else I follow is like, did you guys see these new Copics?
Yeah. And like everybody's talking about Mastodon, but that seems like a mess.
It is. I'm on there too, and it's bad.
I'm basically, it's like a blackjack or whatever. You just like I'm putting my chips on all of them.
Right.
And I'm just hoping whichever one hits, I'll be out. I'll be there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's going to wind up being whatever Blue Sky, the new Jack Dorsey one, but we'll see what happens.
I'll just wait it out. I'm like,
all right, I'll sign up for that one too when it's open. So.
Exactly.
All right, awesome. At Brendan Deneen everywhere, scoutcomics.com. In stores tomorrow are Bones of the Gods, and in stores next week are Mortimer the Lazy Bird.
That's a little card.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's the exact same cover, but this is the New York Comic Con variant. The only difference is it says variant, and then on the back, I was like,
see, that's the cover I'm familiar with.
Yeah, I'm like, you gotta put the New York logo on the front, but
wow.
But yeah, Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
It felt like they would never come out, and now they're out. It's pretty
right, cool. And it's cool to have them back to back. So. Head over and follow Brendan on all the socials. Head over and follow Scout Comics. Tune in Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, which is the weirdest time, but James said that's what'll work for him. So we're here for I Must Ask You a Question, which has more Scout Comics content, which is where I've heard Brendan's name pronounced, is why I got it right. So
yes. James and I work very, very closely together. He's the man. So yeah. It makes sense that he would say it correctly.
So head over and talk about that. And by then we will have all read Bones of the Gods. So we'll be able to talk about it live on the air.
You know what? Just to go back to our conversation, the last page, when you get to it, page 22, it's one of those ones you're like, I need to come. It's a shocker.
Nice. We'll have you on for issue 2 if I'm freaking out after issue 1.
I love it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. Guys, we will be right back with more Talking Shop. Jenna is going to join me, and we're going to have a conversation about some of the changes here at the Experience that we were supposed to have last week, but we didn't, so we're going to do it this week. So we'll see everybody here in just a minute on Talking Shop. You know how when you go to Comic-Con, after Comic-Con, you go to the hotel bar, and there's a whole bunch of people playing music and dancing, and you've got Pikachu and Lara Croft Tomb Raider doing the cha-cha slide just down from Deadpool and Batman and Wonder Woman? That's every Saturday night over on the Experience Twitch channel. Join Taji Beats for the EXP Dance Party, exclusively on Twitch, twitch.tv/the_EXP.
Did you know that across America there are over 2, maybe even 3 live stream producers who can't even afford Mountain Dew? Take Brian here. Brian has gone 2 weeks without a sip of Red Bull. If it goes on much longer, he may take a shower and get a real job. Situations like this are as tragic as they are preventable. Join the experience on YouTube and gain access to special emojis and members-only streams. For less than a cup of coffee, you can keep socially awkward hermit people working from their parents' basements where they belong. Scan the QR code on the screen to join. You'll be glad you did.
What's up, the internet? Welcome back to Talking Shop with Miss Jen. I am legally not Miss Jen. I am producer Kyle, filling in for Miss Jen, and I just my own commercial made me spit water on myself because it was very funny. Sean Butler, I had nothing to do with that. I wrote one line in the scroll at the bottom of the video. I wrote the line about how the experience doesn't condone smoking. Do what you want to your body, but your laptop can't speak for itself. So that was my whole contribution. All right, coming on now on Talking Shop, I'm just going to bring her on, is Jenna.
Hi!
Who you know from literally all of the other shows. But last week we were going to talk about it because we actually debuted this last week. But we're going to talk about it this week because we didn't get to it last week because Dirk Manning is long-winded. I would say that to his face. He knows I love him. We made some changes here on the experience that affected you and me.
Just a couple.
So let's tell the people what they are.
Yes. So our Monday show, Mishmash, is now going to be trivia and hanging out with me for an hour every Monday. Well, not this Monday, but every Monday.
Well, and this tonight was supposed to be, if Miss Jen can make it back in time, if not, it won't happen. Was supposed to be Sonic the Hedgehog themed.
Yeah.
There's going to be very much Sonic and Hedgehog, which would just be an hour of me making fun of Tails.
As long as you don't bring Shadow into this, we'll be cool.
Not a fan of the Shadow either.
Them
I like Knuckles,
words, sir.
I like Knuckles, and that's it.
I do enjoy Knuckles, yeah.
So yeah, we changed Mishmash.
Yeah.
And so, how are you prepping for Mishmash now? Like, is it like, did you buy trivia games and trivia boxes, or are you just spending all day online going, what's a question that is going to piss Kyle off when I ask it?
Yeah, pretty much. It's all of the above. So what we do is, it's really funny. I go into the shop and usually it's Liam and Danny, or it's Liam and Blair working. And I'm like, hey, pick your favorite topic today. And they're just like, this one. And I'm like, cool. Write me down a bunch of trivia. And then the two of them are just like, oh, this and this and this. And then I go on and I look up a bunch more trivia and I print it out. So that way we have like, what did we have? I think we had 6 pages of trivia questions last week to get through in an hour. And I give away really awesome prizes.
Yeah. So
which are usually promo posters. You know those posters that companies will send to a store? We don't actually have space to put up in our shop. So we just have boxes and boxes of these like really cool prizes to give out. And I love giving out prizes.
So, without going into too much detail, you kind of stole this idea from what you were already doing in your 2-hour show, right? Like,
yeah.
How did you decide on this?
It made it. I have so much fun talking with all the guys and everybody who's in like the chats with us. And I felt like that wasn't quite fair for like a selling show. And I was like, what if I just did a hangout show where I can just hang out with everybody? We have like 6 shows a week. Let me steal 1 hour a week where I can just kind of like hang out with everybody.
And that opened the door then to the second new show, which is my show, which is Hot Takes, which I love Dan's promo, which is just a picture of flapjacks.
It made me go and get. What's funny is the first time I saw the promo, I was like, man, I really want some pancakes. So we actually went down to Denny's and got a short stack of pancakes.
Right. I think
And
he's
I actually
playing
know
on.
a funny story.
I think he's playing on the hot cakes idea.
Yeah.
Which I'm just glad he's not playing on a hot lips idea. A picture of Margaret Houlihan from MASH.
Right.
But yeah, it definitely makes me want pancakes now.
Do you want to hear a funny story about
yes.
Jay and pancakes?
Yes, because Jay is sick today.
Very.
So he's not here to defend himself. So yes, let's talk about him.
Okay. So everybody knows that many years ago I was very sick, right? Well, one of the times when we came home, the only thing I wanted in life was a pancake. That was the only thing I wanted was a pancake. And so he was like, okay, well, I'll make it for you. I just have to read the box, right? And I was like, well, see, because I make them from scratch. I do the flour, I do all that. So we stopped at Walmart, got a box of pancake mix. And it was so funny because Jay and Sean are standing in the kitchen and trying to measure out exactly what it says on the box. And it came out as like a concrete, like it was hard circle. And I tried to cut it. I couldn't cut it with my fork. So I tried with the knife and it wouldn't cut. So finally I picked it up and I just took a bite out of it. And it tasted like sand. And I was like, okay, we're not doing this again. And then them never knowing that this happens, they were like, okay, well, we're just going to go ahead and dump it. And so they tried to dump it down the sink. And I don't know if you guys know out there that if you pour pancake mix down the sink, it solidifies. So they were trying to clean it up for like 3 days out of the sink. And it was just me laid on the couch being like, I'm pretty sure I remember at one point, I was like, don't forget a teaspoon of vanilla. So now the guys, Jay and Sean, they leave the pancakes and waffles to me.
I would never let them in the kitchen again. Okay. So because of the pancakes, this brings us back to the show Hot Takes, which is a show that I do from 9 to 10 on Monday nights. And we're actually going to do it a couple of times this week as we fill in for people having days off, where we talk about the things that are happening in the pop culture world. Yes, Sean. And I've lost a little bit of respect for you. I'll be honest. Anyway,
they're learning.
Hot Takes, where we talk about the things that are happening in the comic book world, and you can call in and talk to me. Now, Jenna was on the show with me last week as we kind of worked it out, and so Jenna was able to talk for the people. This week she's not going to be there, so y'all are going to have to come with your talking hats on and call me up and be like, hey, this is what we think. And I mean, I've got some topics in the chamber ready to go, ready to talk about, but we'll see. The little bit I had is gone down the drain with the pancake batter. So it's this, so the experience is changing and expanding and trying to be interesting for y'all. Jenna, you've been here since the beginning.
Have I?
Yes, of the experience.
In one way or another.
Mm-hmm. I've literally been here since the beginning. I feel like I've been in this chair for 2 years now.
It's been 2 years.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't feel like that.
I know.
No way.
So, what are some of the ways that you have seen the experience change, and what have you liked, and what are some things that like you were like that was a bad idea and you were right? And if the bad idea is me ever letting Sean on the air after the pancake story, I can see why.
No. Oh gosh, it's been. I'm still trying to get over this. It's been 2 years because I'm pretty sure like the first 6 months. No. So you guys were on for like 2 months, and that's when I came on board, and I was running some of the socials at that point. And I was really just like, hey guys, let's do this. And then nobody did it. And now they're doing it. And I'm like, see, I told you so.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm super glad that that's being pushed more.
Well, I mean, I think we're gonna, now that we've told everybody about our shows, we're gonna tell everybody when they are.
Oh yeah.
Your Mondays at what time?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to remember what it is. So for our time, it's 7 to 8, I think Central. Right. So I think Eastern, that's
8 p.m. 8 p.m. 7 Central.
Yes.
For Mishmash, the new 1 hour hangout, and 9 p.m. 8 Central for hot takes. And like I said, we just want to come on and give a quick promo for these new shows and talk a little bit about them and kind of, you know, tell the pancake story, I guess, because neither Jay nor Sean are here to defend themselves.
I mean, Sean's in the comments, but
yeah, but I can just put him in timeout.
Ooh.
So tune in tonight at 8. I don't know what's going to happen at 8, and tune in tonight at 9 because I don't know what's going to happen at 9. So, Jenna, thank you for being here for like just about 15 minutes to talk about this stuff. We will be back in about 15 minutes time with Comic Collectibles with Rex and John. And then we'll be back.
I would have showed this again. You thought it was for money, but these are hearts.
I still don't see it.
Okay, look, it's like the heart, like the heart symbol. You see it that way?
I know this one.
Yeah.
That is the one I know.
2 hearts.
Okay. All right, guys. We will see everybody in about 15 minutes for Comic Collectibles, at 8 o'clock for Mishmash, and at 9 o'clock for Talking or Hot Takes. This has been Talking Shop, where we talk to Brendan, Deneen, and Jenna. We'll be back next week with 2 great guests, and not just me and Jenna again. And although we've been great, you can see us all the time. So we'll be back next week with more great guests. We're gonna wrap up. I feel like the Superman convo had the other night, Kyle would have been good. We'll talk about that, Jay. Talk about that, Sean. We'll see everybody next time.
Bye.